recording with Harold A. Haughton, Haughton, of 106 Kedgwith East in Lansing, 48906. Harold's phone number is area code 517-372-4718. Harold also maintains a home in Texas at 1501 West Kelly, number 1741 in Pharr, Pharr, Texas, 78577. The recording was made by Jim Walkinshaw at the Oldsmobile History Center at 4000 North Grand River in Lansing on June 14th, 1990. This is tape number 1 of 2 tapes. See, Harold, if you could just start with your name and your address and your phone number, if you would, please.
Okay, this is Harold Haughton, and I currently live in, just outside of Lansing at 106 Kedgwith East at 40906.
Okay.
And my phone number, I think, is 372-4718.
All right. Now, you mentioned you also have a place in Texas.
Right, and
Okay.
I'm a, what they call a winter Texan. I don't like this white stuff Michigan has in the winter, so I go
Okay.
down to Texas. And it's 1501 West Kelly, lot 174, Pharr, Pharr, Texas.
You got a zip code down there, you remember?
78577.
All right. You got a phone down there?
Yeah, but don't ask me.
Okay. All right. Harold, if you would just kind of go back to when you started and where you started and just bring us forward from there.
Well, I was, this was during the Depression. Of course, you young guys, you don't remember
Right.
that. And I think I was making 18 cents an hour at a automobile, well, I stamped out fenders. Pierce Arrow fenders?
Okay.
You don't even remember
sure.
that?
Oh, yeah, I remember Pierce Arrows.
Well, 18 cents an hour. And my dad had a job here at Oldsmobile. We lived in Ohio.
Okay.
And he says, well, they're hiring, why don't you come up? And who was the employment manager then? Well, anyhow, he came out and says, I'll take you and you and you. There was probably 100 of us guys out there.
And he just pointed at you?
Yeah.
Oh.
How come he pointed at me? Of course, 4 or 5 of us come, but they grabbed a hold of me. And I think my dad had something to do with it. Yeah, this was different than it is now.
Yeah.
He was the boss.
Okay. What year was that, Harold?
1934.
34.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Oldsmobile was just starting to get out of the doldrums of the Depression.
Okay.
And we would come in, we didn't know whether we'd work all day long or not in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Come in and if you didn't work, you went home, but you didn't get paid like you do now.
Oh, nice.
And then the union come along in 36, and boy, oh boy, was that something.
Okay.
I really didn't really think the union had a place here, but I think now as I look back that they probably did. But you'd go in there and in the union meeting, and they'd bring up a topic. And if you disagreed with the topic, boy, you was slapped down, you were hollered down, you were put out even.
Okay.
So that the union got what it wanted.
Uh-huh. Do you remember what you hired in at?
Well,
Different than what you were making in the stamping plant?
I think it was a few cents more, but it was way under $1.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What were you doing at the plant?
Well, I was a power hammer helper, which is a classification that's been extinct since about 36.
Okay.
It's sheet metal. Before they knew how to use a draw die to draw wrinkles out of a panel,
Yeah.
they'd stamp a fender and there'd be a lot of wrinkles. Well, this was a hammer that would hammer those wrinkles out.
Okay.
I was an assistant to my dad on that,
Okay.
and eventually became a power hammer operator, and then that did away with it when they do. Went over in the engine plant as, I don't know, in quality control of some sort.
Okay. Tell me about, did the power hammer guys How did you know what you were doing? How did you know how to do that?
Well, it was an art. You were supposed to learn it, and the only ones that really knew it, my dad knew it. How I don't know how he come to know it, but he taught me how to do it.
Okay.
And it was an art. I mean, you had to take those wrinkles and move them along.
Uh-huh.
And,
Did you guys, was it a loud thing?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you had, we used cotton areas, and,
Okay.
which wouldn't have passed now, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was a loud thing.
And where were you in the plant? Do you remember where you
sheet
were?
metal.
Physically though, where that would have been in the
What building? No.
back in the
Back in the sheet metal plant.
yeah, okay. Were there a lot of hammers, Harold?
Oh, I'd say there was 5 or 6 of us. All Swedes but myself.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, they seem to have control of it. In fact, they still, or they did when I worked here, had a power hammer operator in engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember seeing one over there.
Yeah, and he was a Swede.
Uh-huh. And so you'd spend all day knocking wrinkles out of fenders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, fenders, hoods.
Any sheet metal parts.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Not body parts though, just the
Just Oldsmobile
just
made.
the Oldsmobile made parts.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you moved to the engine plant after that?
Well, there were a lot of layoffs there this time.
Okay.
Remember, you'd work 2 or 3 months and then maybe be off a while. And I know during this period, WPA came along, and I was a WPA member too.
All right.
Cleaning ditches and doing this and that.
And you would get called back to the plant on
Yeah,
occasion?
get called back to the plant on occasion. And right after that, I think it went over on the chassis line and the assembly, car assembly,
Okay.
and put in radios.
Oh, radios, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then then we were laid off again, and this time I was called back in the engine plant and went on this quality control.
Okay.
Wasn't really called quality control then, but that's what it was. Salvage operation of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do? I worked there a year or 2. And here's a part that I don't, well, whether you want it or not.
Do.
I can't think of my boss's name, but he recommended me to go to GM Tech.
Okay.
And I just got married, and I didn't want to take the time off.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often thought about, Jesus, if I had I might have amounted to something.
Oh, well. Can't change what's done.
No, it's water over the dam.
Harold, in the engine plant, you remember what kinds of engines we were making at the time?
Well, at the time when
You were there as an hourly person, as an inspector.
Well, I wasn't really an inspector. Back then it was a different division.
Okay.
I went around and I collected up the scrap, and there was only 3 of us in this department.
Okay.
The foreman and 2 of us guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we would look at the scrap and we would say who's to blame for it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Whether it was a foundry or whether it was
All right.
And in a lot of cases, we would repair it and put it back.
Did you fellas actually do the repair work yourself?
Yeah. No, it wasn't like, well, in the distributor, maybe something was loose in it, we'd take that part out and put a new part in and put the distributor back.
Uh-huh. So you were kind of a salvage operation.
Yeah.
Okay. And we were making 6-cylinder engines?
Oh, yeah, we had 2 engine lines.
Okay.
2 different plants. I know one line was a 6-cylinder line, the other was an 8-cylinder line.
Okay. Were they in the same place? Did you?
2 different buildings.
2 different buildings, okay.
See, I didn't work on the line.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, they were in 2 different buildings.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How, in the plant at that time, you probably got out in the plant enough, did you have multi-purpose machines, or were they all?
Okay, I remember the block floor.
Okay, good.
The block floor seemed to me like a dozen different machines.
All
Where
right.
were, when I left, we had one big long
Right.
transfer machine.
Right.
There, one machine would drill a bore, let's say, and the guy would dig it out, put in another machine, and
Okay.
another hole.
All right.
That was the kind. They were were not multi-purpose machines.
They were all just kind of
Yeah.
single-purpose machines. Did they have? Do you remember any overhead belts and shafting and that kind of stuff, or had that all gone by then?
Well, in the press plant, it was overhead shafting.
Okay.
Because I remember walking down the aisle once, and a belt broke, and the damn belt, where the belt come off the pulley, and the belt just walked right towards me down the aisle.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I know they had overhead shafting there.
Uh-huh. Now, about how long did you stay then down in the engine plant?
Well, until they transferred me over to differential. I never did leave the engine plant, really.
Right.
Went from there. I forget the superintendent's name at the time, but eventually I do remember working for Louis Cook, or
Louis Church.
Louis Church.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was in the test room then, testing engines.
Okay. Hot test? Running them hot?
No. This was, they were running with a big electric motor turned over.
Yeah.
And you would adjust the tappets, and you'd do this and that and listen to it.
Okay.
And I was working there. What was the foreman's name? I don't know his name. Well, anyhow, they were making the Kettering engine plant.
All right.
And they needed supervision over there, and Louis Church, evidently, it was Louis, somebody did, recommended me.
Okay.
So I went over and I interviewed Louis Church was over there then. They put him over there.
Okay.
Yeah,
He had
so
the new
he,
plant.
yeah, at first.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me over and interviewed me and made me a foreman. I was foreman in the rocker arm department.
Okay. What did you do during the war?
Well, during the war, I went over and worked on the 20 millimeter breech. Was it a breech block? Yes.
Okay.
And it wasn't very long. I was a setup man. In other words, people had problems, so I had to go over and help them
Okay.
on that problem. And it was while I was working there that I went to the war.
Okay.
When I came back in the engine plant.
And had we started up by the time you got back?
Oh, yeah.
Restarted?
Yes.
With engines?
Yeah. I took 2 or 3 weeks off after I got back, getting
Yeah.
acclimated. Then I came back. Ooh, all right. I came back in the old 8 plant.
Okay.
The old 8 plant.
Mm-hmm.
And in those times, you could go down the line and you could build your own engine.
Just follow it right through.
Follow it right through, go over and even follow it through the semi.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I know I built me one.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in what they call a 68.
Okay.
There's that 8-cylinder engine was as long as this table.
Uh-huh.
And why the crankshaft was 17,000 pounds, I think. Heavy, boy, was that
Yeah.
heavy. But, I don't know, Oldsmobile always did have a kind of a reputation for having a burning rubber.
Okay.
And these slow-moving inline engines could even do it.
Yeah.
But when the Kettering engine came out, boy, they really could burn rubber.
Yeah. Yeah. So you went then, after the war, you went through the, working a little bit on the existing engines that were there, and then moved over to the new rocket, or the Kettering engine.
Okay, now we're up to 48, I think.
48, okay.
I think that's when I went over there.
Was the machinery all set up when you arrived in the Kettering plant, or were you there as they were starting to do that too?
No, I think we were running down the assembly line, so I think
Okay.
everything was
It was
in.
going. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but boy, did we run holes. We had an awful time trying to get engines.
All right.
I remember that. But we got them.
Do you remember what kinds of typical difficulties you were having at the time?
Well, all I know was the problems in my department,
Yeah.
and the machine would break down.
Okay.
We'd have to call machine repair and get that going, another one would break down. Of course, these are all, let's say, new and still hadn't been really debugged yet.
Okay.
So we had that problem all over the whole plant. Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. How many folks did you have in your rocker arm department? Do you remember?
Oh, I'd say 15, maybe.
15.
Maybe not. Doesn't anyhow.
Yeah. Now, were they working 2 shifts, or was that a 1-shift thing?
No, it was 2 shifts.
Okay.
Believe it or not, my memory isn't what it used to be, but the foreman opposite me said, "Well, what'd you hire in at?" And I told him it's 300 and something a month. He said, "Well, that's more than I'm making."
Aha. Probably wasn't so great then, was it?
No, probably not.
Mm.
Well, anyhow, that's not the way to make friends and influence
No.
people.
Yeah, right. Okay. And then we started out at, do you remember how many engines we might have been making an hour a day at that time?
Yeah. I don't know what the goal was even,
Okay.
because I wasn't in the
Yeah.
assembly line, I was in the rocker arm.
Yeah.
I know we couldn't make enough of them.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you had to make a whole lot of those.
Oh, yeah.
Rocker arms. All right, what happened after the initial activities then with the Kettering engine?
Well, naturally, they eventually got all the bugs out. I went to another department, I don't know why. And whether they kicked me out of that one or what, I forget. This was the front cover department.
Okay.
And they had problems with that. We're still having problems. Let's see, where did I go from front covers? Well, somewhere in here, I don't remember the date or what I was doing. They made me a general foreman. So I went from the floor into the office.
Okay.
Louis Church was still there. He passed away. Well, all right. I know where I went from front covers. I went to the test room again.
Oh, okay.
And then from the test room, I went in as a general foreman.
Now, the test room for the Kettering engine was in the same plant, wasn't it?
Yes. And that was, we run the engine
Hot.
hot.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And, let's see, I told you Louis Church was superintendent.
Yeah.
He soon passed away. And I got promoted to assistant.
Okay.
And I think Ed Martin took his place. I think it was Ed Martin, yeah.
All right.
Oh, somewhere I'm around here. How did Marv Katke come in?
Was he there during the war or something?
He's the one that was in head of the engineering department, the processing
Processing groups? Uh-huh.
that made the machines, orders
All right.
made the machines. Was
Okay.
that?
Could be. I seem to remember the name up in manufacturing engineering somewhere.
Yeah, all right. Well, anyhow, Jesus, I reported to him, so I reported to him as a foreman. Okay, let me go back to
That's
something.
okay.
When I was a foreman in the test room, they got the bugs out of the machines in the assembly line, and they were starting to build engines. Now, I don't know how many they was making an hour, but the test room became a bottleneck.
Oh,
Couldn't
okay.
get them through.
All right.
So they had ordered over here, well, we're in building, what, 36?
36, right.
Yeah. On the opposite side of the main aisle, the north and south aisle, is the manifold department.
Okay.
And they'd ordered that moved, and they were going to take that spot, plus the spot we had over here, and increase the test room so we'd have capacity.
Okay.
Well, I had just got through taking a ICS course on management. And they told you how to look at things and reduce efficiency, or increase the efficiency. And I went into Marv Katke and I said, Marv, we don't have to do this. I can show you how we can run all the engines that they can give me through this test room we got now. And he looked at me, and I drew pictures, and I drew this picture, and then I put a time frame 15 minutes later with another picture in the 15 minutes, showed where there's an even flow, and he bought the doggone thing.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I think that's what got me in as a general foreman.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he had done such a good job in the Kettering engine, the Ford Motor got a hold of it. So he went
So
down
he
there.
left?
Yeah, heck, he did.
Yeah. Okay.
Well.
And did it work?
Well, yeah, it took maybe 3 or 4 months to get the bugs out of that, because people resist change.
Yes.
Really, they weren't doing it anymore. It was just a better way of doing it.
Sure. But you were able to keep it where it was. And
Yeah, we didn't have to move the. Made. Well, I could go into detail of kind of how we did it.
Sure, do that.
You wanna?
Sure. Tell me how you did it.
Well, before we made the change, the engine would come off, and it would go to, let's say Joe was an engine test operator.
Yeah.
He'd put it on the test stand, hook it up, run it for so long. He was a operator, and an inspector would come over and look at it too.
Okay.
And he had a bank of 3 test stands, and he was supposed to keep pulling them off the line and keep them busy, and I don't know how many we had. How many did we have? I don't know. Let's say 3, 6, 9. I don't know. But anyhow, we didn't have any more room, and they were at a capacity already. We couldn't get these guys to go any faster.
Okay.
And inspection said we shouldn't try to run them any faster. They had to run so long to warm up and show an oil leak or a water leak. So what I devised is, let's make this act like a damned assembly line. Let's just, here's the test room here. Let the conveyor bring an engine over here, put it on this test stand. Have one guy just put it on test stand, another guy hook it up, another guy run it.
Oh, okay.
And then take this next engine that's coming around, put it on this one. You could put them on, hook them up faster than they'd come, see?
Okay.
Pretty soon you're around here. And I says, well, now we gotta, what do we do here? Go over here and wait for this? No, I couldn't do that, because that was a big gap.
Yeah.
So we went back and took them off up here.
Oh, it's the other side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And make it, just make it. And when we went around. Well, now we're on an assembly line setup.
Right.
And that was all there was to it. It was simple. I don't know why they didn't think of something like that.
Previously, one guy did the whole thing. He did 3 stands.
He had 3 stands.
And
Yeah.
did everything.
Did everything.
Okay.
Now we kind of broke it up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good approach.
At that time, let's see, there was running about 3 different engines, I think. Are they? I don't know. They're way back then, I don't know.
You mean 3 different variations of the V8, or?
Yeah, like this. You know, the 350 came in later, I remember that.
Yes, that was much later.
Yeah. So maybe they weren't, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe just the one engine.
Yeah. And you had the pedestal line was the assembly line?
Yes.
That was the original assembly line?
Yes. No, I didn't have that.
No, and I know, but it was in the plant.
Yes.
That was part of the plant. Okay.
One thing about the test room, these engines were running hot. And of course the exhaust fumes would, carbon would collect in the exhaust stack.
Oh, yeah.
And every now and then we'd have a burnout.
A fire.
Holy mud, was everybody get excited.
Wow.
Because black smoke would be coming out there, and sparks would be flying. And fire engines would be coming, but nothing ever happened.
How'd they put it out?
Burnout.
Oh, just let it burn itself
Yeah.
out? Huh?
Just make sure that you know that
Yeah.
you were there in case anything happened.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I guess I had about that much insulation on the pipe stove stack, so it wouldn't catch whatever was adjacent to it on fire.
Did they, was the engine test a noisy place Harold, or
Well, yes.
did you use hearing protection or those
No.
kinds of things?
The only hazard we had then, and we couldn't stop oil leaks, and that damn test room floor was just oily every minute. We had
Oh
a
yeah.
couple of guys mopping all the
Oh
time.
yeah. Uh-huh.
But you didn't dare wear shoes with rubber heels. You had to have
Oh.
leather heels.
Oh. Otherwise you slip and go
Yeah.
fall on your behind. Uh-huh. Okay.
And of course we wouldn't let anybody come in the test room that wasn't prepared, knew how to walk on that floor. You had to walk special.
Yeah. Was that engine ran on gasoline or something else? Do you remember? At that time?
I think they started the very few engines were run on gasoline. It was natural gas.
Okay, natural gas thereafter.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh. So you didn't, the carburetor wasn't on the engine then in the test room still?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
See
Well,
what-
now you somehow got to assistant superintendent, you had mentioned.
Yeah, he brought me. I don't know. Yeah, must have been Ketke made me general foreman.
Okay.
Louis Church, he replaced Ketke.
All right.
Then he died.
All right.
Ed Martin took Church's place, and I was his assistant.
Okay. You were up in the front office there in the front of the building?
Yeah,
Okay.
front of 36.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now what?
Okay, well, now what happened? Now you're an assistant. What the devil did you do as an assistant?
Sometimes a lot of people ask me that. Oh, another name that they had, I think, for me was night superintendent. Ed Martin always stayed on days, and I stayed on nights.
Oh,
And we had two engine plants. We had the engine plant, with the assembly line, and the
Yeah.
engine parts plant, which was, what, 38?
30, well, or was it 33 and 30 and 28?
28.
28,
Yeah,
okay.
28,
Yeah.
which was east of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So were you on nights then all the time, Harold?
To start with, on nights all the time.
Okay.
And then, Ed Martin was, well, there was a spell when I was on days, and I was assistant in charge of just the engine parts plant. That's the 28.
That's the 28 side. Now, was the six-cylinder
No.
gone by then?
Yes.
Six-cylinder was all gone?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
all machine.
Okay.
Yeah, that was 28, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The first machining block floor was in 33,
38.
38.
Yeah.
That's 36, 38.
38, that
Okay.
area there. Uh-huh.
Okay.
That was that first original V8 block line.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we added one out in building 28.
Okay, that's, when they added that, I went over there and I kind of supervised the on days now. I didn't have a night helper. Kind of was assistant superintendent or in charge of the engine parts plant.
Okay.
And that was machining. The biggest machine we had was, of course, this block transfer
Okay.
line.
Now the new block line that we put in there, was that any kind of a problem in contrast to how we had previously machined things, or different?
Well, over in building 38, there'd be two machines hooked together here in the transfer,
Okay.
two machines there, and
Zigzag back and
yeah.
forth through the building.
while in 28, one great big long one,
Okay.
and we did come back a little ways.
Across
yeah.
the end, down there,
Yeah.
turned the corner at the end. Okay. So you went kind of full length to the building, and turned the corner and came back.
Yeah, I
a little bit.
remember people coming in and I talk about that was 2.5 block long machine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And of course, there was something new then. It was automation. And
How did people feel about that approach to machining versus
Okay.
the other way?
well, we had quite a problem, or it looked like we was going to have a problem, because here's the machine taking over the jobs that the people used to do.
Right.
But really, it didn't turn out that way. And I don't know if what I said had anything to do with it or not, but I told the union guy that really nobody's going to lose his job, and they're going to have they're not going to have to work so hard. And it turned out nobody was fired because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some people quit or something, but
Yeah.
we never released anybody. So that came out all right.
Okay.
I remember when we automated the cylinder head floor, I think. Now, maybe I'm off a little bit on these numbers, but
That's
we had
okay.
like 21 people machining cylinder heads. Most of the machining was the valve guides and the
Okay.
seats and
Yeah.
so on. And we automated that and ended up with 7.
Okay.
And I remember the union before, when they heard we were going to end up with 7. Boy,
Okay.
well, in automation, you really, that's the object, is to do the manual labor.
Yeah.
So in most cases, these guys just stand there and sit on their butt and push buttons.
Mm-hmm.
So it turned out good.
Yeah.
And it helped me with the union. Because I was I was the youngest foreman. When I was a foreman in there, going
Okay.
back now, I was the youngest foreman that they had around. I was
Ooh.
just a kid.
All right.
And boy, they thought they were going to pick on me.
All right.
But don't forget now, I just had taken this ICS course, and they told me how to handle the union.
Okay.
And I handled it.
And it worked, huh?
And it worked. I went out and bought my own stopwatch. It was only $9 and
Yeah.
something. And I'd go around and I was timing this, and this committee man come up and he grabbed that watch and took it away from me, and I says, you can't do that to me. And I don't know why. Anyhow, I got my watch back. But I knew as much about the damn union as they did,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of this ICS course,
Uh-huh.
which was a good course.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Did people take those kinds of things, Harold, regularly in those days in their correspondence courses, or was that a...
I don't think so. I don't know. It's a cheap way for me, that's all.
Yeah.
See, I grew up in a family of, well, all right, I was married at this time, so that's immaterial, but grew up in a family of 8 children. And my working age, I was the only breadwinner.
Yeah.
This was the Depression, you want to
Yeah.
remember.
Yes.
But here at Oldsmobile, and I was married, and family was getting along on their own. Okay, so
Okay, take me back now. We'll go back up to, you're now night superintendent, or assistant superintendent, or whatever they called you at that time. Then where did you go from there?
well,
Ed Martin was still the superintendent?
yeah,
Okay.
Ed Martin's superintendent. Ed Martin, I liked him,
Okay.
but boy, did he get raked over the coal.
By the management, or
Well,
by
I'll
the...
tell you now, maybe, no,
Hmm.
be careful. You'll probably put this in a computer. But Bob Cook, he was in, well,
Inspection, maybe?
no, he was after that. It was
Okay.
material control,
All right,
material
okay,
control.
Yeah.
And we were having one hell of a time. This is 1954.
Okay.
We're having one hell of a time making engines. Everybody wanted Oldsmobiles.
Yeah.
So I was night superintendent. And I would come in early. Well, maybe my shift started, 3:30 or something. I come in
Yeah.
at 1 o'clock, and Ed and I would sit there and talk. And
Okay.
talk about the problems. Boss Bob Cook come over and he wanted to know what was coming on. And I said, well, we're just discussing the problems we had and gonna get the night shift organized so it'll make up those problems. Well, he thought that I was doing Ed Martin's job, I guess. I don't know. The way he talked later, anyhow. And one other thing happened. Bob Stone was safety director,
Okay.
and he was tough. He was tough on the engine plant because it had a lot of accidents.
Okay.
And he made an inspection once by himself, and he found a lot of things that should have been done that wasn't done, and he raked, I don't know, I was in that management meeting, and he raked Ed Martin's up and down over the coals, and shortly after that they got rid of Ed Martin and made me superintendent.
Oh, okay.
And I think Bob Cook had a lot to do with getting me there, because he seemed to say, talking with me later, how in the heck, he would say, were we able to get engines in 1954 as many as we did? And I'm telling you, boy, all we had then was the building 38 block line. And of course we had two block floors, this one and this one, the north block floor and the south block floor. This machine would break down. We'd wheel them down here and run them through this machine, and wheel them back here and run them through the next machine. That was how we was able to keep the damn block line going, or the assembly line going. I think Bob Cook thought that I'd produce miracles to do that, and anybody would have done it.
Yeah. Okay, so Ed left, and you now are superintendent.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's see.
That would have been 54, that was, Harold, about?
About. Now, I remember the 54 problem. Maybe this happened in 55. I don't know. Okay, I had two assistants.
Okay.
8 general foremen. Oh, wait a minute. 8 general foremen now. And Jesus, a whole bunch of foremen. I forget. Both plants.
That's all right.
And we're working 3 shifts.
Okay.
2,500 hourly people.
What a bunch of folks.
Yeah. I think there was 80 foremen on the 3-shift deal.
Okay. Now the whole plant wasn't working 3 shifts, just the machining side?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and the assembly was 2.
The assembly was doing 2.
Yeah, no machining, especially the block floor and the critical operations were doing 3 shifts.
Was the block floor kind of always the bottleneck?
Well, I'll tell you, that worried Bob Cook and me more than anything else. Yeah, now and then the manifold would be, now and then the cylinder head, and now and then this, but the block floor, you could count on it.
Yeah.
And a couple times, people would say, and especially in engineering, well, let's get rid of this damn thing. Well, no, engineering wasn't. I don't know who was, but said, oh, you remember Chuck Armitage?
Oh, sure.
Okay, he was, I don't know, I worked for him as superintendent for a while. Somewhere, I'm leaving out part of it, but.
That's okay. He had something to do, I think, with the original planning and setup for the rocket engine. I'm not sure how that fit together.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah.
But anyhow, he was saying, well, let's do this. Let's get rid of it.
Throw away the block line?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I said, well, my God, and not only I, but who was ever ahead of this purchasing engineering said, well, the hell, that's only a hunk of iron and hydraulic tubes and electric wiring. We ought to be able to master that. And so we didn't throw them away. Of course, we never fully got out of our problems, but we were getting better all the time.
Yeah.
That automation was really something at that time. Now it's.
Yeah.
But it would. Well, if a tool was to go dead, the excess pressure on that head, a light would show up on the board.
Okay.
And that was really a miracle at that time, that you could do that.
Yeah. I'm sure it must have been the most advanced thing that existed at the time.
Yeah, it was at the time. I know we had, if Ross was alive, he'd probably chuckle. We had a lot of visitors from Europe and from Chrysler and from Ford, and we let them come in. And when they'd come in, well, I could write a check for a dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, so I was inviting these guys all the time. And I know Rollis knew this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they let me get away with it because,
Sure.
well, it was good PR.
Right. Right.
I didn't mind a free dinner because quite often he'd say to me, well, I oughtn't to do anything for free lunch.
That's all right, Earl. Okay, so now you're the superintendent of the engine plant. And that would have been maybe 54 or 5, somewhere in there. Now, continue on. You stayed there for...
Well, when? In the 60s.
Yeah.
Well, somewhere in there, and this was probably in the 60s, aero defects. The government army, I think, started it.
Okay.
And Shepard, Winston Shepard, was one of my general foremen, assistants. And he and I sat down and he says, why don't we try this on the assembly line? And all it was, well, the Army would get you to sign a paper and wave a flag and say you were going to do the best you could.
Yeah.
Well, we knew we couldn't do that. But we did talk to the people and we say, hey, I bet you that this is shift number 1 can beat shift number 2 on the number of defects we get.
Okay.
And I'll be damned if we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The way we did it at first, we'd let the people know now in the next half hour we're going to have 0 defects. And the theory on that was, well, all right, now we're not going to do it for an hour yet.
Right.
But then we're going to run it for half an hour.
Yeah.
All right, for that hour, they're already thinking about it and they're getting themselves set.
Sure.
So we're getting less defects right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then the half hour, of course, we tell them to concentrate, and really they would. It would almost be 0.
Yeah.
And then for an hour or 2 afterwards, we'd still get.
The coast over.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, actually, and I had checked with Buick and Pontiac. I didn't pay any attention to Chevrolet because I didn't even think they was part of Oldsmobile. And now they're running the damn place.
Right.
Well, anyhow, the average assembly line defects, that is, or you pull off to make a repair,
Yeah.
counting those in the engine test, was 3.5%.
Okay.
And we got it down to about 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's just in the 0 defect program. Well, other GM plants heard about it, and I think Defiance Foundry was the first one that kind of
Okay.
talked with me, and they used something similar to that.
All right.
And I was called on GM Tech to talk on it. And they finally made, well, you don't have a ZD program, you've got a good quality program. So, which it was.
Yeah.
But anyhow, now I can go on further. The public relations department or service department or somebody used to
Yeah.
go to dealers and have give away prizes,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd have some left over. Well, Jesus, I got talking to these guys, and I got their leftover prizes.
Oh, okay.
So I'd give them for bonuses for the people that do the best job, that do the work the longest without a defect, or the
Okay.
best percentage,
Yeah.
and that helped.
Okay.
And pretty soon, maybe we ran out of that. We said, well, tell the people now, I want you to sign your work if you want us. We'll help you figure out how to put your signature on it. Then we're going to paint these engines gold. We're going to paint everything gold. We're going to paint the connecting rods gold and everything gold.
Okay.
That we could, see. And when that gold engine comes down or that gold part comes down, I want you to guarantee that that's the best job you can do. And then you can sign it if you want it. Well, we did that. And the word got out that these were beautiful engines. In fact, who was the top of engineering at that time? He was also general manager of Oldsmobile later.
Howard Carroll?
Go before him.
Oh, Wolfram?
No,
No, in between. Let's see. Wolfram, Metzel, Howard Carroll.
well, go one way or the other. That would be after Wolfram.
After Wolfram was Metzel. I think.
Well, could be. Well,
Anyway.
anyhow, engineering used to buy an engine from us, then tear it down and see if they could, and then let me know what defects they found.
Okay.
Well, I got a letter from them that finally they got an engine that they couldn't find anything wrong with it.
A
That was
perfect one.
during this ZD
Yeah,
thing.
uh-huh.
Boy, did we plaster that letter all
Yeah.
over the place.
Yeah.
But now get back to these gold engines. The word got out in the field that here was a perfect engine. And some guy up north, and I forget the dealership, says, I want to buy an Olds, but I don't want it until I get a gold engine.
Okay.
So that got back to the factory and I stopped ZD.
You stopped it?
Yeah, because here it was getting out that
They weren't all of them weren't perfect. or
all of them
something.
weren't perfect.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Now, my philosophy was that I couldn't make this thing work 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I could do it 3 or 4 times a week,
Yeah.
and carryover and all that would
Sure.
go in between, and it did.
Yeah.
But 100%, I figured, well, a few times, that's going to be old gravy to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, what after that? Then what? How did you handle the quality issue, Harold?
Oh, went back
Just-
to normal.
Just do the best you can do,
Yeah.
sort of.
I don't think it ever got back to 3.5%.
Uh-huh.
You know, I kept those papers for a long time, and then I threw them out.
Yeah.
Well, we had fun. Hell, people had fun doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's one thing about it. I've heard people say, well, boy, I'm retiring. I'm going to get out of this rat race. Never once did I call that place a rat race, or never once did I not like my job,
Uh-huh.
even as an hourly.
That's nice. That's nice.
I remember as an hourly going back again, working over on the chassis line, and Mike Minnow was superintendent then. And they used to call him the old bellowing bull or something.
Yeah.
They threw now I see this happen. A big bolt in the conveyor chain. And when it
Okay.
went up, go over a while, the chain would jump and the line would go down. And I went to pull that bolt out of there, and the guy wouldn't let me.
Really?
But anyhow, they do this just to see Mike beller.
That's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you retire, Harold?
74.
1974.
Yeah, in April.
Okay.
1st of March, I guess, especially.
Yeah. So, and you were as superintendent of the engine plant at that time?
No,
Where have
no.
you gone now?
Well, all right. In, no, I don't remember the dates, but in the
That's okay.
60s, Oldsmobile decided to make its own differential.
Oh, all right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. See, and they got a guy from Chevrolet come down here because he was Gerhardt.
Gerhard Phillips.
Yeah, and they called him Gear. He says,
Mhm.
I know when I was introduced to him, he says, call me Gear. Well, he started the plant.
Okay.
He got the thing going, but he used the Chevrolet philosophy on these Oldsmobile people. I mean, management and everything, and it didn't work.
Okay.
So he had one hell of a time. Nobody would cooperate with him.
Uh-oh.
And why they picked me, they sent him back, or he quit, or what, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sent me over there, and I don't know why they did that either. But anyhow, I changed the philosophy right away. I remember sitting in a meeting, in one of the first meetings, and they had minutes of the previous meeting. 2 or 3 pages of just pointing a finger. Pointing a finger, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
If Joe would do this, Mike would be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I said, well, that's the first thing we're going to do. We're not going to have any more meetings, or any more minutes of the meeting. And another thing we're going to not do is point fingers at anybody. If you got a problem, you sit down with the engineer in charge, or if you're an inspector and you've got a problem with production, you sit down with production guy you got a problem with, or his supervisor, And I'll guarantee you that we're going to get something done without laying the blame on each other. Well, I'll be damned if it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon, at Phillips stay over there, people weren't even talking to each other.
Oh my God.
They'd tell me, no, this is hearsay.
Yeah.
He'd come down the aisle and you could see the supervision and the engineering get out of the way.
So it just disappear, huh? Mm-hmm.
And now that's what they tell me. Anyhow, that's all I had to go on, and we changed it.
Okay. Then you stayed over there at the differential plant
Yeah, and I retired
from there. Okay. Harold, in all that time that you were there, how did you see the union relations? Did they change any over that period of time?
I say over in Building 36, I was forever in trouble with the union.
Okay.
I can give you one incident if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. This was right after the war,
Okay.
and I was instrumental with another fellow in the engine plant. I was starting the Oldsmobile VFW.
Okay. Yeah.
And one of the things I learned in the Army when we was at POE, we were at POE for 3 or 4 weeks because of the Battle of the Bulge, and they didn't know whether to send us or not.
Yeah.
Just nothing but time on our hands. So I go to the library and reading books, and I got a book on hypnotism.
Well,
And I hypnotized a few guys over there, and when I come back, and as a VFW, so some of the after meeting things, I put on a little hypnotized demonstration.
oh.
Well, one of the guys there eventually became my committee man when I was foreman in the test room. And he says and he wrote a grievance against me. Went all the way through Oldsmobile. Said I was getting the people to do things by hypnotizing.
Oh my Lord.
So that's just a little incident,
Yeah,
but you remember those things.
Yeah, that's right. But did the feeling toward and by the union change over that 30, 40 years that you were there?
Yeah, they had to. But there was a big difference between the union in 36 and the union over there in the forge plant.
Was there?
Oh my, they called that forge plant an old woman's home or something, because Jesus.
Yeah.
We were almost in bed with the union. No
Okay.
kidding.
Yeah.
We could get what we wanted
Yeah.
within reason.
Yeah.
And they got what they wanted within reason. So we got
Kind of
along
were
good.
working together.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was not so over in 36.
Okay. Well, the relationship over there was more what, adversarial or that sort of thing, or?
Yeah, that's right. The committee man had the idea, well, here comes the boss, I better watch myself. And the boss walks down the line, well, there's the committee man, I better watch myself.
Mm.
That's kind of that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't so over in the forge plant.
Mm-hmm.
Plant 2, I wouldn't let him call it the forge plant.
Yeah. So that was the time when we started to change the name, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
We did put the name on there.
Okay. Yeah. All right. How about employee morale or that sort of thing? Did you see that change over that period of time either?
Oh, yeah. You'd read in the paper about how difficult it was to work on what a sweatshop it was to work on the assembly line.
Okay. Yeah.
And yet that wasn't so. And even the people that worked on it didn't think it was.
Huh.
But now in Building 36, union would say it was.
They would.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Employee morale, well, I don't know if I can give you a great example of that. But it changed.
The feelings that employees had towards the company.
Yeah, but still, they would bitch. Well, how come that we can't find out this? They didn't even want to release how many engines or cars they were making an hour.
Mm-hmm.
They were tight-lipped about it.
Oh, is
I
that
had
right?
a hell of a time. I would get it, and we'd have at least supervisory meetings and management meetings and give it to them, and I even got help for giving some of this stuff to them.
Amazing.
And I don't think it was the how many cars or anything like that I got held on.
Yeah.
What would it be? I know. Any time that I could get any information, I give it to my people. And a lot of times they were secretive about it.
Uh-huh.
And why that was, I don't know. They're not now so much.
No. Yeah. Then that's kind of how we managed our business. How did you see the management of the business change over that period of time?
Well, of course, the old Bull of the Woods, the Louis Church was the last Bull of the Woods superintendent I knew of.
Okay.
He cracked the whip and tell you to jump. You ask him how high.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, they don't have that kind of supervision anymore.
Okay, so that was kind of in that period of time that was changing from
Yeah.
that type of approach. Did that go all through the organization, Harold, from the superintendent on down through the foreman at that in the early days?
Eventually, yeah.
So that all those people were kind of that same type, and then as times changed?
Well, all right, you can talk a little bit about employee morale. I know it did happen, and we always preached it. If you had a problem on a machine, go to the guy that runs the machine. He knows more about it than anybody.
Yeah.
Well, at first, hell, it's my job to fix this machine, the hell with the employee.
Oh, okay.
Well, that did change.
All right.
They did start listening to the employee,
Uh-huh.
but not as much as they should. And I think now they do
Yeah.
a lot more.
Yeah. Okay. How were things communicated to people in the earlier days? How did we get information from what I'll call upper management down into the organization?
By memos,
Oh, all written.
all written, yeah, and posted on the bulletin board.
Okay.
And you know, I don't know how many rules we had, but every time you'd write a rule, you needed 5 more to back it up.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned safety. That Bob Stone was really quite strong on safety. How did you see that change over that period of time?
Well, of course,
Like in the 30s versus later on?
oh hell, in the 30s, I never saw it happen when I hired, but I've heard it tell that if a guy got his arm cut off, why, okay, there's another guy out there ready to take his job. That
So
was
he
the attitude.
He was kind of fired.
Yeah,
and
it
that
was
the end of it.
pushed out, yeah. And of course, later on, we did everything we could to keep people from getting hurt.
Yeah. Were there a lot of machines that were not guarded in the early days? How was that?
In the early days, there were run points, pinch points.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then after the war, had that changed any, or when did that start?
Well, you see, I probably wouldn't paid much attention to it before the war, before I was on management supervision.
Except you were running machinery, so you could see where you could get your hands caught.
Yeah, a couple times running the press. You know, you get to do a job, all right.
Well, it's
Here.
automatic.
Here. And you
Yeah.
can do it in your sleep.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you wake up, I didn't get my arm out of there just in time, did I?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, later on, they made it sure that your arm was jerked out or something.
Yeah. Okay. Was Stone sort of the guy that, what I would call, started the safety program, or had that started before he got
As far as
there?
I know, Stone was.
Sort of, he was a...
As far as I know, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's a fact or not.
Yeah, yeah. Did the, was the operating meeting in existence? Oh, when you... Okay. What did that do?
Not much other than inform everybody of what was going on,
Okay.
which was good. I don't think there was very much of a direction in those meetings, not in that wasn't that kind of a meeting. I think it was just an information meeting.
Okay. Did you talk safety?
Yeah, Bob Stone would have his part of the meeting.
Okay.
And this is the time he raked Ed Martin over the coals.
Oh, was it right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he really raked him over the coals. Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Embarrassing not only to Ed and me, but a lot of other people.
Yeah. Well, we don't know much about Ed Martin other than I've seen his name on an organization chart. What kind of a guy was he? How did he manage the railroad?
Well, Bob Cook didn't think he managed it very well.
Yeah.
I know that. But that's the way they picked their supervision back then. If you were a good bull of the woods, you got promoted.
Okay. So it was back to that again.
I think so. I think more or less.
Yeah. And then Mike Minnow was
He was a bull of the woods type,
another one of those types.
which I didn't know him too well.
No.
Other than I worked for him.
Yeah. What do you think over all that period of time, Harold, who do you think was the best boss you had?
Well, hell, I'd have to say Bob Cook.
Okay.
Of course, I didn't work for him all the time.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
So I did have, well, when he was, just got out of GM Tech, came back to Oldsmobile, and he was in the, well, I guess you'd call it the education department. We'd go to school during, I suppose it was Army sponsored, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he was telling us how to do division and multiplication and so on. He was doing that kind of stuff. That's when I first went across him. Well, he would be my best boss. The Rollis wasn't bad, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I don't know. Is it all right if I kind of blow my horn a little?
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Purpose.
Well, you know, as a supervisor, you have an annual interview. You probably do too.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Rollis was at this time was giving me mine. 3 or 4 of us set out in the outer office and
Recording of Harold A. Haughton of 106 Kedgwith East, Lansing 48906. The recording was made by Jim Walkinshaw at the Oldsmobile History Center on June 14, 1990. This is tape number 2 of 2 tapes. Okay, you're in Rollis's office.
yeah. Rollis just called me in and he started out by saying, well, we didn't have such a good year this year. Everybody's getting less bonus. And he says, here you are. How big guy? Mine was more.
Oh. And he didn't say it.
He didn't say, no.
Interesting.
So that tickled me.
Yeah.
And I think it was things like that give you recognition. That was the way you got recognition.
Yeah.
And I did a couple things as I start back. I didn't let this test room move over here.
Sure.
And I did straighten out the differential plant. Now they tell me I did. Whether it happened, I don't know. So you get, how else could they give you credit for that?
Sure. Sure.
And here's another thing. I never did graduate from college.
Well, college isn't the only place you learn.
No, but I would suggest to anybody now that they sure as hell do.
Yeah. Times have changed a little bit. What, Harold, and see, and somewhere in there, now this is a wee bit off the subject, but I remember you were working at the plant and you made a boat.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not,
It's not Oldsmobile, but I don't know how you found time to do that.
well, I did it afterwards. My wife used to get kind of disgusted. But it took me 8.5 years to build this boat.
Okay. And were you at the superintendent level at that
Yeah,
time?
yeah.
All right.
It might have been assistant when I started. No, I was superintendent.
Okay.
And it was no little boat. It weighed 22,000 pounds, 11.5 tons,
It was-
33 foot long.
Okay. It's a sailboat, big sailboat.
Yeah. Had to tear the end of the barn down to out to get it out
You built it in a barn
on the loft on the second floor.
on South Washington.
Right.
Okay. I remember that.
Yeah, I got a lot of good public relations on that.
Yeah. But I've often wondered how you ever found time to do it.
Well, that's
You
why it
must
took
have-
8.5 years.
Must have lived there practically.
Well, spent a lot of time there, yeah. It was fun. You learn a lot of things. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how this happened.
Oh, is it? One saw?
No, it was actually router planer.
Oh, yeah.
Got my finger.
Finger getter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll do it. Well, let's see now. What haven't we covered here that we should talk about? From our standpoint, I think we've pretty well covered the waterfront. Most interesting job you had?
Most, well, from 1934 to 74.
Right. But, oh, okay. So the whole time frame.
Yeah, I enjoyed it all, yeah, really.
Okay.
I don't know, the most interesting thing I ever did. You had fun doing a lot of things. I mean, we tried to make it fun.
Yeah. Did you get support from the engineering organization, both manufacturing engineering and product engineering that you
Eventually,
needed?
yeah. No, it wasn't always like that, but
Uh-huh.
eventually, yes. And one thing I did to get the support was to invite them over and become part of us.
Okay.
Remember the product engineering. I'd talk with them almost daily about our problems and have them come over and help us set in the meeting and solve them.
Okay.
And this way, we got along good. Well, I know another job that happened over in the engine plant. All of a sudden, engines were discovered in the test room where the camshaft bearings were failing. This was a Babbitt
Yeah.
bearing in the block.
Yeah.
Yet the engine would keep on running and didn't seem to mind.
Okay.
But Elmer Cole was head of the inspection and reliability then.
Okay.
And we agreed that this is not a thing, if a dealer or a customer opens it up and says this Babbitt splattered out there isn't good, doesn't look good.
All right.
So we tried and tried and tried, and we had meetings. Normally this would be an engineering job. You'd tell them, well, this is our problem now. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And it was up to them to test the engine and find out a
Right.
solution. Well, we sat down in the meeting. We discussed this was too damn slow. They only had 1 or 2 test stands, and here I had a couple dozen.
Right.
So we decided that at first we shut the line down because we didn't want the engine to go out this
Yeah.
way. And we tested it, what did I have, a couple dozen test stands.
Yeah.
We tested different things on different test stands to try to find out what this was. And this is under engineering telling us what to do.
Yeah.
And Elmer Cole and anybody else that wanted us to try something. And we couldn't solve the damn problem. The engine still come up. We tried all different kinds of things. Still came up that way. And all of a sudden it went away. Nobody knew why. So the meetings dissolved.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks back it came again. So we reconvened the meeting.
Isn't that something?
Nobody knew why. And we tried and tried and tried, and we had graphs and we had charts.
Yeah.
In the production office. We were running it. yet. Under the Elmer Cole and engineering's jurisdiction, we were doing what they asked us to do. Pretty soon we just put them out, the engine, and you give a damn whether it was bearing was failed or not. It would not knock, it would not do anything.
Isn't that interesting? So we never really solved that problem?
Never really solved it, but it went away and never come back. And
Isn't that something?
we couldn't figure out why. We had brains over there trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
So that was an interesting aspect of the job.
See, you were talking about quality there and shutting down. Can you share with us the quality versus quantity feelings over that time frame also?
Well, when I first went on supervision, I know that the object was to get them out the back door.
Okay, quantity.
Quantity.
Okay.
All right, even though it had a defect, get them out and we'll count them. Now maybe we'll try and fix that.
Okay.
Well, all right, that soon changed. Let's fix it before we get it out.
All right.
And it kept improving that way.
All right.
I know we had a philosophy, we will not knowingly make a bad part.
Yeah.
And I think that philosophy kind of spread around.
Was that a thing that you had to actually change people's thinking to make that happen?
Yes. Had to have meetings, you had to have, well, we did over in the differential plant, not in the engine plant, but the differential plant. We had meetings where, supervision meetings where we invited hourly people to sit in.
Oh, okay.
Now that had never happened before.
That must have been a first also.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I got Rollis to hire oh hell, I don't know his name. Richard Lickard, sounds like it's something like that. Which was a management consultant.
Okay.
And he even, I think it cost him $100,000, and he came over, and he was this philosophy get the hourly people in.
Okay.
So we did a lot of it with them. And this was just before I retired.
This must have been kind of the early so-called QWL stuff that happened. Quality of work life, so to speak, things that.
Yeah, and a couple of incidents I know that happened. Nobody wanted to work. We had a problem, and we'd work weekends.
Okay.
Normally, we'd try to only work 40 hours.
Yeah.
And if the machine broke down, we'd have to work Saturday or even Sunday.
Okay.
And quite often, people didn't like this extra time, especially if we'd been doing it 3 or 4 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
So I remember this one meeting, and I wasn't sitting in on it, but they told me later. They brought their people in and said, now, this machine is down. They brought hourly setup people, not everybody, but setup people and so on. Somehow or other, somebody's got to work Saturday and Sunday. You know, it was the hourly people that solved the problem. This guy says, no, if it's all right with you, I've got to go to these people's, let's say they're having an anniversary party. I got to go there. And I'll be through there by, this is 3 o'clock in the morning. If you'll let me come in then and work till 8, okay, I'll do it.
Oh.
Well, management never heard of anything like that before.
Yeah.
But, and somebody else would do the 12 o'clock to 3 or whenever it was.
Okay.
So I had told the foreman if they could solve it, go ahead. And they did, and that's the way it worked. That's the way we get along.
So it's kind of a piecemeal from a standpoint.
Anyway, the people had a say in it anyhow. Instead of the foreman saying, well, you work. Come hell or high water, or else you get a reprimand or something.
Yeah.
And there used to be a lot of that.
Did discipline change over those years?
Oh, yeah, in that respect.
In the 30s, was that a prevalent thing?
Well, don't bring it on holiday.
Yeah, I know, but you would have seen your compatriots if that happened, I assume.
Yeah, the safety class program was just starting to come in.
Oh, was it?
Back there.
Okay.
And I know that was a problem to get you to wear classes. And I know a lot of paperwork was issued for people that didn't.
Okay. Why didn't people want to wear those?
just because it's a change. You want to, you know, people resist it if they give you an egg in your beer.
Yeah. That's very, I found that hard to believe.
But that's a fact.
Good. And Harold, you also participated in some, as I remember, some programs that were outside of Oldsmobile, but sponsored by Oldsmobile. I remember, didn't we have a safe driver program of some kind? Seems like you were an instructor in some of those activities or something.
For a period there for National Safety Council, yeah.
Okay.
Just for a period. But I thought you was leading up to when I was, this was Oldsmobile sponsored, or agreed by Oldsmobile as president of Big Brothers.
Okay, that's a good subject.
Yeah. Tender meetings and was their blessing.
Yeah. See, Dale Carnegie thing, was that a thing that was going on at the time?
Yeah, I took a Dale Carnegie course, and then the next session I was a director of it.
Okay.
You
So
know,
we kind of used our own people to do those things?
Yeah, as the director. They,
as managers or teachers or whatever you call them. Yeah. Okay. Well, what do you think?
I'm blowing my horn quite a bit.
It's all right. It's what you're here for. Think we've covered the waterfront?
Well, probably. Probably think of something when I get home.
Well,
but then, so what?
That's what usually happens. But any other major happenings that you can, that might be of
There probably were, but I don't know what they were.
See, I might ask you, did you know any of the general managers during any of that time frame that close enough that you could tell us at all about them?
Other than
like Skinner or Wolfram or Metzel or those
Cook.
guys? Other than Cook? Okay.
You see, Bob Cook built a boat once.
Oh, did he?
And I figured, oh, hell, if that son of a gun can build one, I can.
All right. Good.
Yeah, he built a little runabout.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, good idea.
The reason I guess that I knew Bob Cook, the gal he married was actually my neighbor across the street. Now, I didn't know her.
All right.
But I see Bob Cook come there often.
Oh, yeah.
So that's when I first knew Bob Cook.
Uh-huh. That's interesting. Okay. Shall we stop?
Okay.
Appreciate it, Harold. Nice job. Well, pick up the safety meeting thing.
Yeah, we'd have safety meetings, and that was kind of a bug on housekeeping.
Okay.
And I remember times I would invite over in these management meetings we had over in Bill and 40.
Okay.
I'd invite the whole damn crew to come over to Plant 2 and see if they could find a coffee cup on the floor. If they could, I'd buy them a cup of coffee.
All right.
Rawless found one.
Did he?
Found one underneath the damn conveyor, so I had to buy him one. And the hell of it is, he told everybody in the meeting about it.
Oh, nice.
But I took a lot of pride in these people, and they took pride in picking up and having a clean plant. And the way we do it in the cheap fountain pen you just showed me is what I would do. I'd buy dozens of those things.
Oh, yeah.
And give them to the people in the department that showed the best rating. And we'd have, I don't know how we did it, but the general foreman and assistants would devise a scheme of telling who did the best. And we'd give them watch fobs or fountain pens or something.
Some little trinket.
Yeah.
That's a subject that maybe you spend a moment with me on, Harold. The housekeeping thing that was used in the plant, however it was used, was that handled by each superintendent? How did they do that?
Yeah, that was handled by the superintendent's philosophy.
Okay.
Now, I had a philosophy: you cannot do good work in a pig pen.
Okay.
And I says you better straighten that place up. But a lot of people didn't share that philosophy.
And so it was kind of the manager pushed that down through the
That's right.
organization.
As far as I could determine, that's the way it was.
Okay. And
Bob Stone would give you hell for it.
oh, would he?
But he was about the only one that would.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So if you had a guy like the Rollis or somebody that walked through the plant, they didn't necessarily chew you out for that?
No, because they'd come in the front door, stay in the damn main aisle, go out the back door, but they didn't deviate in between the machines like Bob, or like Stone did.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe Bob Crook would once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't afraid of getting his shoes dirty.
Yeah. The housekeeping, do you judge that as a thing that could be, even in a machining floor, kept as clean as you could in other places?
Well, the problem would be more difficult. Now, I know in, what was it, one department where we had the transfer machine, it was kind of like this, it kept going around
a big
here's
circle.
the department.
Yeah.
And it was cast iron, and they had coolant splashing on every operation. Well, hell, that coolant was all over.
Yeah.
And although we had a couple of people there trying to keep the floor clean, you never could.
Yeah.
Well, all right. That would be more difficult than the assembly line
Sure.
in
Sure.
that respect.
But still, like, once again, the manager's approach would make it cleaner than it would have been otherwise.
If you weren't after these people all the time to clean up, yeah, they'd get a little sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of other things on their mind.
Yeah, yeah. Did the work, that's another subject, did the work ethic change any during your 40 years? Did you see that change?
Well, I suppose it did. It grew up like Topsy, no big sudden change.
Yeah. Did people feel more like working in the 30s than they did in the 50s, so to speak?
Well, okay, in this respect, back in the 30s, you had to work to survive.
Okay.
Let's say in the 70s and 80s, hell, you could get by, the government would take care of you. So, yeah, absenteeism was really a problem. Now, absenteeism was not the problem in the 30s,
Okay.
or in the 40s even.
All right.
But boy, was it a problem later,
Okay.
after the war. People just said, well, they had a couple excuses. If I make any more money, I'm in a higher bracket.
Okay, from a tax standpoint.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And another, I don't need any more money. This is enough for me to get by. Why should I work?
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of lazy.
Mhm.
So it did,
That-
radically changed.
That happened in the later years.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. Did we do anything to try and attack that sort of thing?
Oh, yes. But really, I think we did it kind of in a negative way.
Oh.
With discipline.
Oh, okay. Rather than encouragement, so to speak, to come to work?
That's one way I understand management has changed now.
Yeah.
And they better or else.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I'll stop again.